Ambassador Alina Voss stood at the edge of the grand observation deck, looking out at the endless stretch of stars. Earth had finally gained a seat in the Galactic Council, and this moment was supposed to be historic. The council chambers had been alive with chatter and ceremony, a place where humans would finally have a voice among the many species that had dominated space politics for centuries. Alina had trained for this moment her entire life, studying alien cultures, diplomacy, and the intricate rules that governed interstellar relations. She was ready, or at least she thought she was. The comm panel on her wrist buzzed softly. "Ambassador Voss," a calm voice said, "your transport to the council session is waiting." She took a deep breath, straightened her shoulders, and walked toward the exit. The hallways of the Galactic Council station were sleek and cold, illuminated by soft lights that followed the curves of the structure. Alina felt a mixture of pride and nervousness. This was humanity's chance to show the galaxy that Earth was no longer a backwater planet. But she didn't notice the shadows that moved silently along the perimeter of the docking bay, creatures whose eyes glowed faintly in the dim light. The Zarquin slavers had been monitoring the new human presence for months, and they saw an opportunity that they could not resist. Humans were rare in the galaxy, and the council seat made Alina both valuable and vulnerable. As Alina approached her transport, she noticed a flicker in the air near the docking bay entrance. The flicker was fast, almost imperceptible, and she thought it might be a reflection from the polished floor. A sudden, sharp noise echoed through the chamber. Before anyone could react, figures emerged from the shadows. Tall, muscular beings with exoskeleton-like armor moved with terrifying precision. Their weapons emitted a low hum, and before the council guards could respond, Alina felt a sharp tug at her arm. She tried to resist, but one of the creatures pressed a strange device against her chest. A sudden shock left her immobile. The council guards rushed toward her, but the Zarquin slavers had anticipated resistance. Energy nets fired from the creatures' belts trapped the guards, lifting them off their feet. Alina's heart pounded in fear, but she forced herself to stay calm. She had studied threats, and she knew panic could make her vulnerable. Still, nothing had prepared her for this. The last thing she saw before being dragged into the transport bay was the shattered sense of security she had always taken for granted. The transport shook violently as the slavers' ship tore away from the council station. Alina's hands were restrained by devices that emitted a soft glow, preventing her from moving or using any kind of technology. The interior of the ship was cold and sterile, with long corridors lined with holding cells. The slavers did not speak to her, only glancing occasionally with eyes that were more calculating than cruel. They did not need to speak. Their presence alone was meant to instill fear. Back on Earth, the news hit like a shockwave. The broadcast screens across the globe showed a statement from the Galactic Council. "Ambassador Voss has been taken by unknown forces. All efforts are being made to secure her release." The words seemed formal, almost too calm, but they masked the panic that rippled through every government agency and intelligence network. Earth had never faced a threat like this. The Zarquin slavers were legendary in galactic lore, merciless beings who dealt in human lives as if they were merchandise. The leaders of Earth convened immediately in a secure command center. The room was tense, filled with the best minds in military strategy, intelligence, and diplomacy. Every possible response was discussed: negotiations, military strikes, covert operations. But the reality was grim. The Zarquin slavers operated outside the law of the Galactic Council, and any overt attack could trigger a full-scale war that Earth was not ready for. Amid the debates, one name kept coming up: Kaito. He was a figure spoken of in whispers, a shadow who had trained for decades in secret. He was a human ninja, trained not only in martial arts but in stealth, infiltration, and intelligence gathering. His existence was classified. Few knew him, and fewer still had seen him in action. Unlike conventional soldiers, Kaito operated outside the rules, relying on skill, ingenuity, and human unpredictability. "Is he ready?" one officer asked. His voice was tense, betraying the fear that no one admitted aloud. "He is the only chance," another replied. "The slavers underestimate humans. They think they are predictable. Kaito is unpredictable." He would go alone, relying on stealth and his own skills to navigate the slavers' territory. His mission was clear: infiltrate the slavers' citadel, locate the ambassador, and extract her without alerting the entire slaver network. Kaito prepared for the mission with the precision of a master craftsman. He moved in silence through a secure hangar, checking weapons, gadgets, and armor. Each piece was designed for a specific purpose, yet flexible enough to adapt to unexpected challenges. He practiced maneuvers, imagining the corridors of the slaver ship, the guards he would face, and the obstacles that would attempt to slow him down. Every motion was deliberate, every decision calculated, yet he relied on instinct, the kind of human intuition that machines and aliens could rarely predict. When the time came, Kaito boarded a stealth transport designed to slip through the Zarquin's detection systems. The Earth Command Center tracked his progress with bated breath. No one spoke. Everyone knew that a single mistake could cost not only Kaito's life, but also the life of the ambassador and Earth's first foothold in galactic diplomacy. Meanwhile, aboard the slaver ship, Alina tried to understand her captors. They were silent and disciplined, operating as a single unit. Their gestures were minimal, but she could sense intelligence and strategy in every movement. She realized that fear would not help her. Instead, she needed to think, to observe, and to find any weakness. Her mind raced through everything she had learned about alien behavior. She noticed patterns in their patrols, the timing of their shifts, and the way they communicated with each other through subtle signals. Despite the restraints, she began to plan. If a chance for escape appeared, she would take it. If she could communicate even a little, she might be able to guide any rescue attempt. She remembered reading about human ingenuity and how it often surprised more technologically advanced species. She held onto that thought. It became a small but vital source of hope. The slaver ship moved at incredible speed, warping through space toward a hidden fortress world. Alina was placed in a cell designed to neutralize her human advantage. It was small, cold, and filled with a soft hum of energy that disrupted electronics. She could not use her wrist comm device, nor any device she had brought with her. The slavers believed they had anticipated every move. But they had underestimated one thing: humanity. Kaito's transport slipped past the outer defenses, unseen and undetected. The ninja relied on a combination of technology and instinct, moving like a shadow through the corridors of the ship. Sensors that would detect a machine's approach were fooled by his human signature. He avoided cameras, traps, and patrols, using clever diversions and improvised tools. Every step brought him closer to the ambassador, and every step reminded him why humans were different. They could adapt, they could improvise, and they could surprise even the most ruthless enemies. In the command center back on Earth, leaders watched the data streams in silence. Kaito's progress was slow but steady. His approach was methodical yet unpredictable. The room was filled with tension but also a strange sense of hope. They had sent the best of humanity, and sometimes that was enough. Alina, unaware of the ninja closing in, felt a small flicker of hope herself. She noticed a loose panel near the floor of her cell. It was minor, almost insignificant, but it might be useful. If someone were to come, she could guide them. She thought about the stories of humans overcoming impossible odds, of clever solutions and unexpected courage. She reminded herself that she was not alone, that Earth would not abandon her. The stars outside the slaver ship continued to blur as it moved through space. Time was slipping away, and every second mattered. The Zarquin slavers believed they had complete control, but they had forgotten one crucial fact: humans were relentless when defending their own. Whether through cunning, skill, or sheer determination, they always found a way. And Kaito was coming. Kaito's transport glided silently through the black emptiness of space, a mere shadow against the stars. The stealth systems hummed softly, masking the vessel from the slavers' sensors. He studied the schematics projected in the cabin, committing every corridor, security checkpoint, and patrol rotation to memory. The fortress world was massive, a spinning citadel with towers reaching into the thin atmosphere of the planet below. It was designed to intimidate and control, but Kaito was not impressed by size or intimidation. He had learned long ago that every structure had weaknesses and every system could be tricked. As the ship neared the orbit of the slaver citadel, Kaito activated the external camouflage. The craft shimmered, blending seamlessly with the void. He had no interest in a frontal assault. Stealth was always more effective. The first challenge was the outer security ring, a web of laser grids, scanning drones, and automated patrols. Every movement was calculated. He used miniature drones of his own, tiny machines that emitted false heat signatures and sounds, diverting attention from his approach. One by one, sensors lit up and then returned to normal, misled by Kaito's clever manipulations. Inside the citadel, Alina waited, observing patterns that the slavers believed she could not detect. She had memorized the sound of footsteps, the subtle shifts in the humming energy fields, and the timing of the guards' glances. Though confined, her mind remained active. She noted a maintenance hatch near the floor, just large enough for a person to crawl through if they could avoid the energy field. It was a risk, but one small mistake might offer freedom. She quietly tapped on the control pad outside her cell, feeling the vibrations through her restraints, trying to discern the slavers' response times. Each observation added to her mental map of the Citadel, unknowingly guiding Kaito's path. Kaito docked his stealth transport on the outer hull, clinging to the surface with magnetic grips. The fortress was cold and metallic, its walls smooth but covered in vents, conduits, and maintenance hatches. Every surface presented an opportunity. He moved like liquid, scaling walls and bypassing sensors with careful precision. Inside, the corridors were a maze of alien architecture. Kaito's training allowed him to blend shadows, move silently, and anticipate patterns. Every step he took was deliberate, every choice a balance between speed and caution. He encountered the first patrols in the main corridors, tall, armored slavers whose eyes glowed faintly in the dim light. Instead of fighting, Kaito used distraction. Small devices he had hidden in his suit created sounds in distant hallways, luring the patrols away. When necessary, he incapacitated guards silently, using swift, precise strikes that left no trace. His movements were almost artistic, a dance of shadows and control. Each encounter reinforced what humans often proved in the galaxy: we are unpredictable. Aliens could calculate machines, weapons, and brute force, but humans could improvise in ways no algorithm could anticipate. Alina watched from her cell as a guard paused, responding to a sound from the corridor. She knew this was more than luck, it was opportunity. She tapped the loose panel near her floor, testing the vibrations of the floor and walls. The panel shifted slightly. She realized that if someone managed to reach her, she could use this to manipulate the energy field that restrained her. It would take precise timing and courage, but freedom was possible. Her mind raced, calculating risks, timing, and actions. Every second was critical. Kaito reached the inner security ring, where energy barriers and locked doors blocked access to the central command tower. These were not ordinary locks. They required biometric scans and multi-step authorization codes. He observed the guards and patrol routines, noting how they interacted with the systems. Then, using his experience with human technology and intuition, he devised a clever solution. A small device from his suit interfaced with the alien controls, simulating their access codes. It was crude compared to their systems, but effective because it was unexpected. The doors opened silently, allowing him to pass without raising an alarm. He moved closer to the holding cells where he knew the ambassador was kept. He had no visual confirmation yet, but he relied on patterns, intelligence from Earth, and instinct. The corridors narrowed, the lighting dimmed, and the air hummed with alien energy. He paused at intersections, listening to distant sounds, reading vibrations in the floor, and tracking every guard's movement. His human senses, honed over years of training, gave him an edge that no alien technology could match. Meanwhile, Alina's observations became more precise. She noticed that one of the energy panels controlling her restraint flickered occasionally, a small rhythm she could exploit. She also discovered that the guards had a pattern when monitoring the cells. They rotated every 30 seconds, never more, never less. Every detail was a piece of a larger puzzle, and she knew that help was coming. Her mind focused on survival, on strategy, on the certainty that humans never gave up. Kaito reached the level where the holding cells were located. The corridors here were heavily guarded, and energy fields crisscrossed the hallways. He crouched behind a vent, observing the rotation of guards. A small misstep could trigger alarms throughout the Citadel. He activated a miniature drone, sending it ahead to mimic a heat signature. A patrol shifted, leaving an opening just wide enough. Kaito slipped through, moving faster than the eye could follow, invisible in the shadows. He paused near one of the cells, observing the restrained figure inside. It was Alina. Recognition flashed in his mind, Earth's ambassador. She was composed, watching, calculating, even in the face of captivity. Kaito allowed a moment to study her. She was not just a victim, she was a strategist, someone who could contribute to the mission's success. He signaled subtly, showing that help was here. Alina noticed the signal immediately, her eyes narrowing with understanding. She had to act carefully, but she was ready. Kaito studied the energy restraints. Alien technology was often powerful, but it had limits. The devices emitted a steady hum, but there were variations in the frequency. He pulled a small tool from his suit, carefully analyzing the field. It required precision, timing, and coordination, but humans had mastered these things for centuries. One wrong move and they would be trapped forever. Alina began to cooperate, using the loose panel beneath her cell to manipulate the energy field slightly. The restraint shifted, a tiny gap appearing. It was enough. Kaito reached through, applying his tools with delicate precision. Sparks danced across the devices, and with a final adjustment, the restraints deactivated. Alina stretched her limbs, flexing muscles stiffened by captivity. Relief was fleeting. They were still deep within enemy territory, and every second counted. Kaito and Alina moved silently through the corridors, blending shadows, evading patrols, and improvising as they went. Alina used her knowledge of the Citadel's layout, observing patterns she had memorized, while Kaito neutralized threats before they could act. They moved as a team, a combination of human ingenuity and skill. The slavers were powerful, but the humans' unpredictability gave them the upper hand. They reached a junction where multiple patrols intersected. Kaito analyzed the situation, calculating probabilities and timing. Then he executed a daring plan. Using small devices, he created a series of distractions in different directions, confusing the guards. Alina mirrored his strategy, using panels and environmental cues to manipulate energy fields subtly. The corridor erupted in controlled chaos. Guards ran toward false alarms, leaving the path open for the humans. As they advanced, Alina realized something important. Humans were often underestimated, not because they lacked strength or intelligence, but because they thought outside predictable frameworks. The slavers relied on brute force and strict patterns, and that was their weakness. Humans could adapt, improvise, and exploit the unexpected. Together, they were stronger than any alien army could anticipate. Kaito led Alina to a maintenance shaft that bypassed the final security checkpoint. The shaft was narrow and dark, but it offered the safest path. They moved silently, hearts pounding, aware that one mistake could end everything. Every sound, every shadow, every vibration mattered. Kaito's senses were alert, reading every movement, while Alina contributed with observation and insight. As they crawled through the shaft, they could hear distant alarms and shouts. The chaos they had created was spreading through the citadel. Guards rushed in multiple directions, responding to false threats. The humans moved through the chaos, unseen, unheard, unstoppable. This was the moment when human ingenuity shone brightest, adaptability in the face of overwhelming odds. Finally, the shaft opened into a wide maintenance corridor near the outer hull. Kaito and Alina paused, taking a moment to assess their position. They were close to the exit, but the final stretch would be dangerous. Patrols were heavy, and the slavers would not give up their prize easily. Yet both humans knew one truth. They had already proven that aliens underestimated them. They were clever, adaptable, and relentless, and that would be enough to see them through. Kaito and Alina moved cautiously through the maintenance corridor, their footsteps silent against the cold metal floor. The alarms from the earlier chaos still echoed faintly through the fortress, a distant reminder that time was slipping away. They were close to the central command tower, the heart of the slaver citadel, where the last security measures were strongest. Kaito's eyes scanned the corridor ahead, reading every shadow, every flicker of movement. Alina followed his lead, her mind sharp, observing patterns in the guards, rotations, and the energy fields that crisscrossed the passageways. They turned a corner and froze. A massive figure blocked their path. The central enforcer, a genetically enhanced Zarquin, towered over them. Its armored body seemed nearly invincible, and its glowing eyes bore into them with a mixture of curiosity and menace. The air around it vibrated with energy, a warning that it was both powerful and dangerous. Kaito's heart remained calm, though his mind raced. He had anticipated such an encounter, and every instinct honed over years of training told him that humans could survive where brute force might fail. The enforcer spoke, its voice a low rumble that resonated through the corridor. "Humans, you should not have come here." Alina's breath caught slightly, but she did not move. Kaito stepped forward subtly, positioning himself between the enforcer and the ambassador. The creature lunged with lightning speed, but Kaito was ready. He dodged with a movement almost too fast to see, using the narrow corridor walls to his advantage. The enforcer slammed against the wall, sending a shockwave that rattled the metal panels. Kaito attacked with precision, striking pressure points and weak spots he had memorized from observing the Zarquin. Each movement was calculated but unpredictable, using the human ability to improvise in real time. The enforcer was strong, but it relied on sheer power and assumed that humans were fragile and predictable. Kaito was neither. He moved like a shadow, striking, retreating, and striking again, always keeping just out of reach of the creature's devastating blows. Elena watched carefully. She had noticed patterns in the Enforcer's attacks, subtle tells in its movements that Kaito used to anticipate the strikes. She realized that humans, when working together, could combine skill and intellect in ways the slavers never expected. Whispering softly, she suggested adjustments to Kaito's approach, pointing out weak spots she had observed in the armor. The human duo operated as a team, one using strength and skill, the other using knowledge and observation. The fight continued, intense and unrelenting. Kaito used the corridor itself as a weapon, pushing panels to redirect energy blasts, using conduits to vault and strike from unexpected angles. The Enforcer roared in frustration, its strength no match for human creativity. Each strike Kaito delivered was precise, aimed to exploit vulnerabilities, not just to damage, but to disrupt the opponent's confidence. Slowly, the massive creature began to falter, unable to predict the next move. Finally, Kaito saw the opening he needed. With a swift motion, he tripped the Enforcer using a combination of leverage and momentum. The creature crashed into a wall, stunned but not defeated. Kaito didn't waste time. He signaled to Elena, and together they moved past the Enforcer, keeping to the shadows. The fight had delayed them, but it had also given them a crucial advantage. The Enforcer now underestimated them, convinced that humans were weaker than they truly were. They reached a junction leading directly to the central command tower. The area was heavily guarded, with automated defenses and patrols synchronized to respond to any intrusion. Kaito studied the layout carefully. The humans relied on speed, intelligence, and adaptation, qualities the slavers did not anticipate. He deployed small, improvised devices to disrupt sensors, creating temporary blind spots in the patrol routes. Elena helped, using her observations of timing and routine to guide Kaito's movements. Together, they advanced, moving silently through the corridors. Elena realized that the slavers' systems, while technologically advanced, were limited by their predictability. Humans could read patterns, adapt instantly, and improvise solutions that no machine or creature could anticipate. This was their advantage, and it was more powerful than any weapon. They reached the area where the ambassador's communications and monitoring devices were located. Kaito paused, scanning the room. Energy fields crisscrossed the chamber, creating a nearly impenetrable barrier. But he noticed small fluctuations, weak spots caused by the device's constant operation. Using his tools, he created a temporary disruption, allowing them to pass without triggering alarms. Elena observed the control panels, learning quickly how to manipulate the systems to maintain the disruption just long enough for them to advance. As they approached the central elevator that would take them to the upper levels, they encountered more patrols. This time, Kaito and Elena used the environment to their advantage. Pipes, vents, and panels became weapons and shields, allowing them to bypass guards silently. Every move showcased human creativity, improvised solutions, rapid thinking, and adaptability that the slavers could not predict. The corridor became a labyrinth where humans thrived, turning each obstacle into an advantage. They reached the elevator, but a final obstacle awaited. A security scanner blocked the path, requiring biometric authentication. Kaito studied the device, noting its limitations. He whispered instructions to Elena, and together they exploited the system's assumptions. Using subtle pressure on panels and carefully timed movements, they tricked the scanner into granting access. The doors opened, revealing the elevator shaft that would carry them to the upper levels. Inside the elevator, the tension was palpable. Elena and Kaito moved in silence, hearts racing, minds focused on the mission ahead. They knew that reaching the top was only part of the challenge. The ambassador's safety depended on their continued ingenuity and courage. Every step brought them closer to the extraction point, but also deeper into danger. As they ascended, Elena reflected on the nature of humanity. Aliens often saw humans as weak, fragile, and unpredictable in ways they assumed were dangerous. But unpredictability was our strength. Creativity, adaptability, and courage allowed humans to overcome challenges that seemed insurmountable. She felt a surge of confidence, realizing that her fate, and the fate of many others, rested not on brute force but on these uniquely human traits. The elevator doors opened on the upper level, revealing a wide observation deck that served as a command hub. The room was filled with consoles, displays, and guards monitoring operations. Kaito and Alina paused, analyzing the environment. They had to move carefully, using stealth and misdirection. The humans relied on distraction, improvisation, and precise timing. Kaito activated small devices that emitted sounds and lights in distant corners, drawing attention away from their path. Alina used the knowledge she had gathered to manipulate energy fields, creating temporary barriers that obscured their presence. They moved across the observation deck like shadows, silent and deliberate. Each step required focus, patience, and adaptability. Kaito's training allowed him to predict guard movements, but Alina's insight provided additional advantage. Together, they created a rhythm of motion and timing that the slavers could not anticipate. The human's ingenuity turned the seemingly impossible task into a calculated series of actions, each building on the last. Suddenly, an alarm sounded, a faint pulse that indicated a breach had been detected. The humans froze, calculating their next move. Kaito assessed the situation, realizing that the alarm was localized and could be bypassed with speed and strategy. He signaled to Alina and they moved quickly, using vents and shadows to avoid the responding guards. The slavers were powerful, but humans were relentless. Adaptability and courage allowed them to exploit every weakness. As they approached the upper command tower, Kaito noticed the ambassador's exact location on a nearby display. They were close, within striking distance of success. But the final obstacle was the enforcer, now recovered and aware of their progress. It blocked the last corridor, a formidable figure of strength and determination. Kaito knew that brute force alone would not suffice. He relied on timing, precision, and unpredictability, qualities that no alien could calculate. The enforcer lunged, and Kai dodged, striking with calculated precision. The corridor became a dance of skill and strategy, each movement exploiting weaknesses, misdirection, and the human's ability to improvise. Alina watched and assisted, guiding Kaito with insights she had gathered about the creature's behavior. Together, they turned the enforcer's power against itself, weakening it with clever maneuvers and coordinated attacks. Finally, the enforcer stumbled, giving the humans the opening they needed. Kaito and Alina moved past it, adrenaline fueling their speed and focus. They reached the final barrier to the ambassador's cell, a reinforced door protected by energy fields and multiple locks. Kaito studied the mechanisms, and Alina observed patterns in the energy flow. Together, they worked quickly, using tools, timing, and observation to deactivate the systems. The door clicked open, revealing the corridor leading directly to the ambassador. Alina's heart raced as she prepared for the final approach. The human's ingenuity had brought them this far, but the mission was not over. Every decision, every movement, and every ounce of courage mattered. They were about to prove that humans, when underestimated, could overcome even the most formidable enemies through intelligence, adaptability, and unity. Kaito and Alina moved through the corridor that led to the ambassador's holding cell. The door had been secured for years with alien technology designed to withstand the most powerful attacks, but the humans were undeterred. Kaito's tools were small, compact, and precise, made for moments like this. He worked quickly, analyzing the lock and the energy barriers surrounding it. Alina, calm despite her captivity, watched and assisted by observing the energy pulses and telling Kaito exactly when to act. The lock clicked open and the door slid silently aside. Alina stepped forward, a rush of relief washing over her. She had been studying every detail of the slavers' routines for days, or what seemed like days in the endless corridors. Even in captivity, she had never lost hope. Kaito signaled for her to stay low and move carefully as they advanced, the danger far from over. Every corridor beyond this point was patrolled heavily, and the alarms that had been triggered earlier had only made the slavers more vigilant. They moved like shadows, silent and deliberate. Kaito led the way, his senses alert to the smallest sound or movement. Alina followed closely, remembering every training exercise she had learned about observation and stealth. Even in a situation that seemed hopeless, humans had a way of finding solutions. Every turn of a corner, every gap in a patrol was an opportunity to survive. As they reached a wide observation chamber overlooking the main control center, Kaito paused. The room below was bustling with alien guards, some operating consoles, others moving in strict patterns across the floor. The humans needed to pass without alerting anyone. Kaito assessed the situation, calculating patrol timings, energy field cycles, and the speed at which they could move. Humans had one advantage the slavers could not predict: creativity. He whispered instructions to Alina. She observed a series of maintenance conduits along the side walls, narrow pipes that allowed a person to crawl unseen above the activity below. Kaito nodded, and they moved into the shafts. The metallic pipes were cold and tight, but they offered perfect cover. Below them, the slavers remained unaware, focused on the commotion caused by the earlier distractions. The humans advanced carefully, but the mission became riskier as the patrols rotated more frequently. A misstep could mean being detected, triggering alarms and ending the mission. Kaito relied on human instinct, anticipating the guards' moves before they happened. Alina assisted by monitoring energy fluctuations in the walls, noting any change that could indicate detection. Together, they created a rhythm of movement, a harmony of skill, observation, and human adaptability. Suddenly, one of the patrols moved directly under a section of the pipes. Alina froze, holding her breath as Kaito quickly adjusted their path, rerouting through a narrower shaft. Their movements were silent and precise. Humans had a unique advantage: the ability to improvise instantly, to adapt to changing circumstances without hesitation. The slavers had predicted everything except this level of unpredictability. As they progressed, they reached a junction where the pipes led to multiple exits. Kaito studied the energy maps he had memorized, noting the quickest route to the Citadel's outer hull. The plan was simple in concept but required perfect execution: reach the hull, bypass the final security grid, and signal for extraction. The humans moved swiftly, every step measured yet flexible. The slavers' systems were sophisticated, but they relied on routine, and humans thrived in breaking routines. They emerged from the pipes near the outer hull, a vertical wall that overlooked the Citadel's docking bays. The city below was chaotic, ships maneuvering to avoid collisions caused by the earlier diversions Kaito had set. Alarms blared across the fortress, but humans did not hesitate. Kaito activated a small grappling device, and they descended slowly along the metallic surface, blending with shadows. Alina held on tightly, her mind focused on survival and timing. Humans had long survived impossible odds through ingenuity and courage, and this moment was no different. As they neared the bottom of the wall, a patrol approached directly below them. Kaito froze for a heartbeat, then whispered instructions to Alina. Together, they used a combination of shadows, timing, and a minor distraction, a small flare that rolled across the surface to draw the guards' attention away. The humans slipped past, unseen and unheard. Every success reinforced the human advantage: creativity, adaptability, and courage. Once at the base of the wall, they moved quickly toward the docking bay where Kaito's extraction signal would reach the Earth fleet. The bay was guarded, but the chaos below worked in their favor. Ships collided, alarms triggered, and the slavers' attention was divided. Alina realized that humans had a way of turning disadvantage into advantage. The slavers relied on numbers and technology, but humans could use environment, timing, and unpredictability to level the field. They reached the first barrier, a force field designed to prevent unauthorized access to the docking area. Kaito studied the controls, noting small fluctuations in the energy grid. Alina observed with him, pointing out patterns in the field's cycles. Timing their movements with precision, Kaito deactivated the field long enough for them to pass. Every second mattered. Humans had a unique gift: the ability to solve problems under pressure without hesitation. Once inside the docking bay, they encountered the final obstacle: a series of guards and automated drones patrolling the area. Kaito and Alina moved quickly, using shadows, machinery, and walls for cover. Every step required patience, every breath measured. The humans' ingenuity became their greatest weapon. Kaito triggered small explosions at distant points, drawing guards away. Alina guided him, noting weak spots in patrol patterns and drone sensors. Together, they created a path to the extraction point. The Earth fleet monitoring the situation from orbit was ready. A stealth shuttle moved into position, using the chaos in the docking bay as cover. Kaito and Alina sprinted toward the landing platform, hearts racing but focused. The slavers were formidable, but humans were relentless. Every skill, every observation, and every improvisation had brought them to this moment. As they reached the shuttle, a guard spotted them. The alarm blared and automated drones activated. Kaito and Alina moved instinctively, using their environment to their advantage. Kaito flipped a control panel, sending a burst of electricity into the nearest drone, disabling it. Elena rolled, avoiding a blast, and reached the shuttle. The doors closed just as more guards arrived. The humans were safe for now, but the mission was not yet complete. The shuttle lifted off, moving toward the waiting Earth fleet. Below, the slavers' citadel erupted into chaos. Ships collided, alarms blared, and the patrols scrambled to respond. The humans had turned a seemingly impossible mission into a success through ingenuity, skill, and courage. Elena watched the citadel shrink beneath them, realizing that humans had a way of defying expectation and overcoming impossible odds. Inside the shuttle, Kaito and Elena shared a moment of quiet. No words were necessary. Their actions had spoken louder than anything could. Humans had faced danger, adapted, and triumphed. The galaxy had underestimated them, but time and again, humans had proven that creativity, intelligence, and courage were weapons as powerful as any technology. As the Earth fleet received them, celebrations erupted. Ambassador Elena Voss was safe, and humanity's reputation had grown exponentially. The slavers had been humiliated by a species they considered weak, and Earth had shown that humans could face the most dangerous threats with ingenuity and bravery. Kaito vanished into the shadows once again, a silent guardian whose actions would be remembered but whose identity remained hidden. Elena knew that the mission had been extraordinary, but it was only part of a larger truth. Humans were capable of greatness beyond what even the galaxy could predict. Even in the face of overwhelming odds, humans could adapt, improvise, and prevail. That was the message that would echo across the stars. That was the story of the ambassador, the ninja, and the human spirit that refused to be broken. The Earth fleet had been waiting just beyond the outer edge of the slaver citadel, cloaked and silent, a shadow ready to strike. As Kaito and Elena's shuttle approached, communications were brief and precise. Every move had been coordinated to maximize surprise and minimize risk. The slavers, confident in their numbers and technology, had not anticipated human ingenuity or the ability to adapt in real time. Humanity had always thrived on the unexpected, and this would be no different. The fleet moved with precision. Warships and stealth craft formed a perimeter, cutting off escape routes and preventing reinforcements. Kaito and Elena's shuttle docked at the lead ship, and they were immediately escorted to the command center. Admiral Hayes, one of Earth's finest strategists, greeted them with a mix of relief and pride. "You've done more than survive," he said. "You've shown the galaxy what humans are capable of." Elena nodded, exhausted but resolute. She knew that their mission had proven a larger point. Humans were clever, resilient, and unpredictable. While Kaito remained in the shadows, preparing for the next phase of the mission, the fleet engaged the slaver forces. The citadel, once a fortress of terror, now faced the combined might and ingenuity of human strategy. The slavers were powerful and technologically advanced, but they had underestimated one thing. Humans did not rely solely on machines or brute force. Humans adapted, improvised, and found weaknesses where none seemed to exist. The battle began with precision strikes on the citadel's key systems. Stealth drones disabled external shields, while smaller fighter craft created diversions, drawing the slavers' attention away from the true threat. Kaito, though unseen, coordinated small sabotage operations within the citadel, moving through maintenance tunnels and vents to disable critical systems. Elena provided real-time intelligence from the ambassador's perspective, giving the fleet an unprecedented advantage. The slavers tried to respond with brute force, deploying patrols and automated drones, but every move was anticipated. Human adaptability and ingenuity turned every attack into an opportunity. Kaito used the narrow corridors and maintenance shafts to create controlled chaos, trapping slavers in their own patrol routes. Energy grids were manipulated, doors locked remotely, and distractions placed to maximize confusion. Every system the slavers relied on became a liability. Above, the Earth fleet executed a carefully planned orbital strike. Non-lethal energy pulses disabled key defense systems without harming the citadel's structure, minimizing collateral damage but maximizing chaos. The slavers scrambled, trying to regain control, but humans were everywhere at once, in the halls, on the walls, and controlling the battlefield from above. The ambassador watched in awe, realizing that this was not just a rescue mission. It was a demonstration of humanity's ingenuity and courage on a galactic scale. Kaito moved deeper into the citadel, tracking remaining high-value targets and ensuring that no slaver could reorganize. His movements were silent, deliberate, and impossible to predict. Every corridor he passed was a testament to human adaptability, every obstacle overcome a display of cleverness and skill. Even the genetically enhanced enforcer, who had challenged him earlier, was neutralized through precise timing and strategy rather than brute force. Elena and Kaito reunited briefly near the main control hub, the central nerve of the Citadel's operations. The humans moved quickly, shutting down communication systems, locking corridors, and ensuring that no slaver could coordinate an effective defense. Every action was calculated to minimize risk while maximizing impact. The slavers had relied on power, intimidation, and numbers, but humans relied on creativity, coordination, and courage, the traits that made them unpredictable and dangerous. The final stage of the operation was the evacuation of remaining captives. Kaito and selected Earth operatives moved swiftly through the halls, guiding prisoners to the shuttle bay. Elena assisted, using her knowledge of the Citadel's layout to avoid detection and bypass obstacles. Each step demonstrated humanity's unique advantage, the ability to adapt to changing situations, to improvise solutions on the fly, and to maintain calm under pressure. The slavers attempted a desperate counterattack, deploying ships and patrols to reclaim control. But the Earth fleet was prepared. Coordinated maneuvers and strategic strikes neutralized threats systematically. Kaito, moving unseen among the corridors, created diversions that drew the enemy away from the fleeing captives. Elena and the rescued humans made their way to the shuttles, guided by both the fleet above and the ninjas' precise planning. As the last group of captives boarded shuttles, the slavers realized they had lost control. Their citadel, once a symbol of fear and power, was now in disarray. Systems failed, patrols were incapacitated or misdirected, and the remaining forces were scattered. Humanity had turned the tide without relying solely on force. They had leveraged intelligence, observation, improvisation, and courage, the traits that made humans uniquely formidable. The evacuation was complete, and Kaito disappeared into the shadows, leaving the ambassador and the fleet to secure the remaining captives. The shuttle carrying Elena lifted off, joining the other Earth ships in formation. From the observation deck, she watched the Citadel shrink in the distance. The humans had achieved what many believed impossible. They had rescued their ambassador, neutralized the slavers, and demonstrated the power of human ingenuity on a scale the galaxy could not ignore. Back on Earth, the news of the mission's success spread quickly. Citizens across the planet celebrated, proud of their species, resilience, and courage. Ambassador Elena Voss returned as a hero, her experience a testament to human ingenuity and determination. Yet the true hero remained unseen. Kaito, the ninja whose skills and adaptability had ensured the success of the mission. He was a symbol of humanity's potential, a reminder that even in the darkest situations, humans could overcome with intelligence, courage, and creativity. The Galactic Council convened in emergency session, responding to reports from the Earth fleet. Delegates from multiple species expressed astonishment at humanity's actions. The slavers had been defeated not by brute force, but by strategy, improvisation, and the unexpected capabilities of a species they had underestimated. Humanity had made a statement. We were not weak, we were not predictable, and we would protect our own. Elena spoke before the council, her voice steady and confident. She recounted the mission, emphasizing the teamwork, intelligence, and courage that had ensured success. She did not glorify the violence. Instead, she highlighted the ingenuity, problem-solving, and perseverance of humans. The council listened, many in awe, realizing that Earth's seat in the galaxy was more than symbolic. It was a force to be reckoned with. Kaito, meanwhile, observed from the shadows, unseen but vigilant. He had completed his mission, yet he knew that humanity's fight for recognition and survival was ongoing. The galaxy underestimated humans at its peril. Every challenge, every obstacle, and every threat could be met with skill, intelligence, and courage. The ninja was a reminder that humans were more than their technology. They were adaptable, clever, and fearless when defending what mattered most. The rescued captives were transported to Earth colonies, freed from the control of the slavers. Elena coordinated their safe return, using her knowledge of diplomacy to ensure their protection and integration. Humans had proven that even against a superior force, determination and ingenuity could prevail. Every action taken, every decision made, was a reflection of the HFY spirit, that humans, underestimated and often dismissed, could rise to face impossible odds. As Earth celebrated, Kaito vanished back into secrecy. His mission complete, he left behind a legacy that few would know in full detail but that would resonate throughout human history. He was the embodiment of the qualities that defined humanity: courage, intelligence, adaptability, and an unyielding drive to protect one's own. The ambassador's rescue was not just a victory, it was proof that humans were formidable, capable, and never to be underestimated. The slavers, defeated and humiliated, retreated into the void of space. Their arrogance had been their undoing. They had faced humans as they faced any weak species, confident in their power, reliant on numbers and technology. But humans were different. Creativity, adaptability, and courage had turned the tables. The galaxy had witnessed it, and the message was clear. Humanity was rising, and it would not be ignored. On the bridge of the Earth flagship, Alina looked out at the stars. Kaito's presence remained unseen, but his impact was undeniable. Humanity had answered with courage, skill, and ingenuity. The ambassador had been rescued, the captives freed, and the slavers defeated. Yet the most important victory was the lesson learned. Humans, underestimated and underestimated, were capable of greatness beyond the expectations of the galaxy. Earth's leaders held a council to discuss the aftermath, but the message was clear to all. Humans could be trusted, humans could defend their own, and humans could innovate in ways no other species could anticipate. Ambassador Alina Voss, the rescued diplomat, would carry this lesson to the Galactic Council, ensuring that humanity's voice would not only be heard but respected. The galaxy had underestimated humans, and now it had learned a truth that would echo for generations. Kaito's mission, Alina's courage, and the fleet's strategy had proven that when faced with impossible odds, humans adapt, improvise, and overcome. It was a message of hope, strength, and the enduring spirit of humanity, a spirit that could not be broken, a spirit that would shine across the stars. And somewhere in the shadows, Kaito prepared for the next mission, knowing that humanity's fight was never over, but confident that humans would always rise to the challenge. The galaxy had seen a glimpse of what humans were capable of, and it would never underestimate them again.